Here we go. Duke in the black on the road. Georgia Tech at home in the white. And the opening tip belongs to the Yellow Jackets. Mike Cousins and Len Elmore, glad to have you along tonight here for a late tip from Atlanta. Looking to go inside. First bucket, a slam for Nick Jacobs, the senior from here in Atlanta.
Well, Jeff Capel told us before the game that Duke was going to play a significant amount of zone, but they had to certainly worry about the bigs inside. And also the transition game, something they're truly worried about.
Georgia's Hunt rejected by Marshall Plumlee, and a quick baseline whistle as Les Jones stops the clock. 33 seconds in. He's with Ray Stions and Jeff Anderson, the trio in black and white tonight. First on Plumlee.
They saw an opportunity for Georgia Tech to push it up the floor at breakneck speed, knowing that the opportunities might be there. They certainly do not want to face that 2-3 zone. And then looked like a pretty good block by Plumlee, although Georgia's Hunt did hit the deck hard.
And slow for the senior from College Park, Georgia, to get to the free throw line. This will be his 141st attempt of the year.
Tell you what, again, Duke is going to have to significantly in that zone put a lot of pressure on the ball because of the athletes on the front line for Georgia Tech. They've got the capability of throwing over the zone, and ball pressure is really what prevents the alley-oops.
83%, and it's 1 of 2 for Georgia's Hunt. The Yellow Jackets the early 3-point lead.
You see Georgia Tech a little token full court pressure as well. Expect them to look, to press a little bit, full court, three-quarters, try to change Duke's rhythm.
Allen driving from the corner, and he's called for the traveling violation. Back to Georgia Tech.
And that's a great example of upsetting rhythm a little bit. Grayson Allen not normally turning the ball over. Outstanding driver to the basket.
Allen averaging 20 points a game. The most integral part of his offense this year, up 16 points in his scoring average from a year ago in conference play. A lob, and Jacobs flushes over Plumlee.
And once again, poor pressure on the ball. Heath able to get into the gaps. And Georgia Tech, as I mentioned, playing above the zone.
Brian Gregory mentioned yesterday his team's got to be able to win those possessions at the basket and also keep the Blue Devils off the glass.
Well, Nick Jacobs has been terrific for Georgia Tech. 6 double-figure games since January 9. Averaged 15 points, 7 rebounds during that time.
Smith lets it fly down into the hands of Thornton, the freshman point guard out of California. One-on-one. He goes right past Heath and drops it off for Jones.
Right now, Jeff Capel exhorting his team to move the ball. Running around the perimeter is not going to help. You got to go a little bit inside out. Plumlee's got to make himself available.
6 to shoot, and the left-handed flick is off the glass and in for Thornton.
It's one of the great advantages of the Duke offense. They got the capability of guys to beat you off the bounce. One-on-one situation.
Smith thought about it. Heath drops it off. And across the lane, Jacobs. He lost it, Duke basketball, but he's been a force early on.
As I mentioned before, you get an opportunity. You see there, Heath allowed to get into the paint. No pressure on the ball. And above the rim is where Georgia Tech wants to play against that zone. They can pull them out of the zone, go man-to-man, and see a little bit more conventional basketball.
Those last 6 games for Jacobs, averaging 15 and 7. Ingram turns past White, but it's forced too high off the glass.
So an opportunity there. Try to get in transition, but the guards are so busy running out that there's no outlet for Jacobs. He had to slow it down a little bit.
Duke sits back in that zone, extending high up on the wings against Georgia Tech. Now a double down. Only 6 on the shot clock. Heath goes cross court. Georgia's Hunt nails a 3.
Making the extra pass, catching Duke in rotation.
And there's Duke catching Georgia Tech in transition. One of the things this Blue Devil team does exceptionally well.
And they certainly have to. Look at the ball movement there. Inside out, drew enough guys into the paint where it's tough to close with the cross-court pass. That skip pass made it very difficult for that zone to rotate and cover the shooter.
Allen at the line. You see the big jump in production he's been asked to make this year and has handled that role very well. Georges Hunt takes his seat as Quentin Stevens, the junior from Atlanta, is into the game for the Yellow Jackets.
Yeah, Allen's second in the ACC in scoring, 6th in free throw percentage. And here's a guy over the last 5 games, despite the pressure being on him, has averaged almost 20 points a game and 4 assists. See, here's where you got to turn and you got to attack right now. You got 2 guys, Thornton and Ingram, trying to play catch-up defensively, but Georgia Tech slows it and allows them to get back into position.
Stevens turned away. Second chance opportunity. Too much off the back iron, and it's Thornton on the run. His eyes up with Plumlee in the lane. Instead, Allen a wide open look.
Good weak side glass rebound from Marshall Plumlee, who seems to get rooted behind the basket, and the front line guys forget about him.
Allen driving kick, and Jones has the answer from 3.
Well, after a fast start, this pressure has kind of slowed Georgia Tech's roll a little bit, and shot selection by Georgia Tech a couple of times down, forgetting how they got the lead. Just settled for the jump shot again instead of exploring inside out. We're back at it now.
They were dropping it off for Jacobs, and he got a good look there inside the 2-3 zone.
Actually, I wouldn't call that a good look because I don't even think he saw the rim when he threw that one-hander up. He's in control. He's got to be able to make the defense react to him.
Allen drops it off, and Plumlee has the easy finish. The Blue Devils lead by 1.
And that's what happens. Marshall Plumlee behind the basket. On the penetration, the defense kind of forgets about him, and then he steps in and receives the ball in scoring position.
Talking about behind the defense, there it is with Jacobs. Days off for Duke after a loss at Miami. A well-rested team, even though it plays with a short rotation, usually about 6. Allen gets the extra pass and nails the triple.
Good patience offensively, good shot selection, and once again, inside out. And ball reversal. Inside out creates a contraction of the defense. The ball reversal creates the gaps to drive.
Quick turnaround for Georgia Tech. A road game at Syracuse on Saturday. Lost by 3. It was 2-6 in league play. White, Jacobs both there for the tip in. And White gets credit for 2. Gordon spins out on Smith. Allen with a hand in his face. He's got another 3.
Well, I'm sure Brian Gregory is in his mind frustrated. I'm sure they certainly are focused on not leaving off of ball penetration, leaving shooters open on the perimeter. But that's just what's happening right now. Georgia Tech's forgetting about Grayson Allen on that perimeter, and he's making a pay.
And a reach-in foul on the drive by Smith. That'll go against the Blue Devils. 15.
But you know, some of these guys have moved up, particularly Malcolm Brogdon, who's had a nice week or so, and he's moved up on the ladder as far as the objective consideration.
Did you know what Lawrenceville Larry offered up as a prediction? 6 weeks till Selection Sunday. Is that a fair bet?
Oh, man, that was too easy.
Then Lammers off the bench into the game, and he's got 2 for the short corners.
That's something that Biggs were working on in Georgia Tech prior to the game. Spent about 10 minutes on guys hitting 10 to 15-foot baseline shots. That was anticipation of playing against the zone.
2-2-1 pressure. Stevens with the right hand.
And that's what I mean by attacking. Once you get it over that front line, no need to allow them to come back. If you got advantage in numbers, take it.
Thornton around and out on the three-point try. Charles Mitchell into the game, 0 in white, has come off the bench the last 3 for the Yellow Jackets. But he's a presence there, averaging a double-double, 11 and 11 in the paint. Todrick Jackson touches it softly off the window. Back and forth we go, 8 minutes in a 1-point game. So if you're just joining us again, some changes for Duke. They are out of an AP top 25. The first time since March of 07. Mike Krzyzewski not coaching the team today. Feeling under the weather per release from the school. So Jeff Capel is at.
Obviously fewer rebounds because the guy shoots so well. But one thing about Charles Mitchell, the idea is to get 1 rebound every 3 minutes you're on the floor. He's ahead of that because he averages about 26 minutes per game, but averaging almost 11 rebounds per game. So he's been an outstanding rebounder the last couple of years here in the ACC.
Foul there on Ben Lammers to reach in his first. Look at body types. He is shorter, maybe 6'6", 6'7", and wide. You're taller, so are there different styles for different body types when it comes to rebounding?
No, I think pretty much the same. As he explained, it's about putting a body on a guy, being able to flow with the offensive player and take him out of the play, yet give yourself a path to the basket. And sometimes you can't put body on him. You have to just attack. That was one of those situations when Mitchell didn't look to block his man out. He just attacked the glass.
Allen missed it on the backside. Chase Jeter the foul.
You take a look right here. He's got Jeter, got contact. He kind of puts an arm on him just to hold him off. But then when you freeze the offensive player, that's when you go and attack the glass. And that room has to be yours. You've got to command that real estate. And that happens on both ends.
Jeter has played sparingly, the number 11 recruit in last year's senior class. Just 27 total minutes in 8 ACC games. They need him here to help bolster their front line. Stevens tries it from 3. And Ingram is there to secure it for Duke.
He kind of tossed that instead of shot that.
From the corner, Allen got it. Grayson Allen. Another 3. He's 3 of 4 from deep.
And there really is no excuse for getting to him late. I mean, Grayson Allen is a good enough player that he will shoot and score when challenged, but not wide open. Can't allow him to be wide open.
Found him on the block.
And that's a sight for sore eyes for Brian Gregory. Mitchell in the last 6 has only averaged 6 points, 8 rebounds. And it's been kind of a shooting slump, primarily because he's kind of rushed it, been, somewhat pressured in his mind.
Out of bounds on the baseline for Mitchell, so it's Duke ball.
You take a look at Marcus Georges-Hunt right there. Nice job finding the big fellow who moves his feet, not stationary, goes to the open spot. And when you know your teammates are going to find you if you move, that's high motivation for big guys to get themselves in position.
Allen didn't have the shot coming off the screen. Kennard going toward the basket. And it's a whistle on the baseline. Travis Jorgensen, his first. And the 4th on the team. Allen the advantage on the drive, and Jeter gets 2. Just the 10th made basket in 19 tries this year for Jeter, the freshman from Las Vegas. Foul and the bucket. Jackson finds his way inside.
And Jeff Capel is hot, and well, he should be. Again, getting beat off the dribble and allowing the player to turn the corner with no help. You take a look at Jackson right there, gets around the bigs, and nobody steps up to help. I think that Matt Jones had an opportunity, instead of spending too much time blocking out, had to step and keep the penetration from getting all the way to the basket. And certainly I think Jeter, I'm sorry, the defender on that play had an opportunity to keep from turning the corner.
Well, Jeff Capel acting as head coach today with Mike Krzyzewski out. He's feeling under the weather, did not travel with the team, although he coached practice yesterday. And the advice of his doctors was told to stay home, but is expected to return soon. So Capel coaches his first game as a head coach since March 10th of 2011 with the Oklahoma Sooners. Very capable filling, 9 years as a head coach between VCU and Oklahoma.
Again, you take a look, despite playing this zone, a lot of matchup opportunities, a lot of one-on-one opportunities from Georgia Tech.
Mitchell tries to save it. He ends up 2 rows deep, and it's Allen with a kick to the corner. Kennard swings it around. Jones, no. And who's there but Mitchell, who is sitting in the seats at the other end of the floor.
Yeah, we talk about technique, but there's an element of tenacity and will that's added to that technique to make an outstanding rebound. And there's good offensive rebounding by Charles Mitchell. As I said, to be an outstanding rebounder, you've got to have the will that you own the real estate. Take a look at him just coming straight down, going to the weak side glass and commanding as he watched the shot take off. And that was a defensive rebound on the last possession. His offensive rebounding, again, was about position, but more about tenacity and who wanted it more.
Smith, a dangerous three-point shooter, 43%. Yellow Jackets trying to find something inside of the 2-3. White with a soft touch kisses it off the square.
And you saw what that high screen of one of the zone defenders does. You screen, that creates enough of a gap. Jorgensen got into that gap, got into the paint, and was able to find the big on the baseline.
And it's Kennard right to the basket. Nobody comes over from the help side. Tied again, 24 all.
And again, against a man-to-man, that time Georgia Tech should have provided help. To Luke Kennard, you know he's a good jump shooter, but he's a pretty good driver as well.
Jacobs with the left.
And I'll tell you what, you can't emphasize how well Jacobs has been playing. Last 6 games, averaging 15 and 7, shooting over 50% from the field. Kind of turning it on at a time when Georgia Tech could use him.
Plumlee goes up, swatted from the backside, and James White will be called for the foul. Duke, the 4th highest scoring freshman in the country. And here's Marshall Plumlee at the line. Off on the front end, he shoots 60% on the year. His contributions have been exceptional as well. I just think about it, not even from a scoring or rebounding perspective, which has been great for Duke, but think about the conditioning these players must have 36, 37, 38 minutes a night each game.
Yeah, but it starts to wear on you after a while, particularly when the games are separated maybe by 1 day. Duke obviously had 8 days to kind of recuperate and get their legs back. But in the end, you have so many coaches right now complaining about the ACC schedule. And when you're balancing 15 teams, it's not easy.
A turnaround, and it's pure. Jacobs continues to roll. He's 5 of 6. 10 points now, a team high for the Yellow Jackets.
And Georgia Tech, you can tell why Jeff Capel getting a little bit upset. 22 of Georgia Tech's 28 points have been points in the paint. And they're shooting such a high percentage right now, 13 of 21 from the field. And really it comes down to just a little bounce pass inside, a duck in by the big fella. And Nick Jacobs, those shots were just hitting the front of the rim early in the season. He was having all sorts of problems really connecting on the jump hook and the turnaround jump shot. Not anymore.
Free look real good. Here's Antonio Vrankovic, the 7-foot freshman from Delray Beach, Florida. This is just the 5th game in which he's played this year. Last time he was on the floor was December 28th against Elon. So his first career ACC game. 6:38 to go here in the first. And as he got ready to come in, Nate James, the assistant, was yelling at him and saying no deep post-ups, which has been a problem, as we've seen with points in the paint for Georgia Tech.
That's what you attribute this high shooting percentage of Georgia Tech to, the ability for the bigs to duck in. There's an advantage break. Against that pressure, as I said, break that first wave. You got numbers, you take them.
12 for Jacobs. The lead is 4 for Georgia Tech. Working on the perimeter. And it's a 3-second violation against Vrankovic.
Well, I'll tell you right now, Duke, one advantage that they have offensively, if their offense starts to break down, they've done a pretty good job of getting to the free throw line. They've done it all year. Among power conference teams, they're 10th in free throws made. But it's not helping them right now. What's going to help them is playing some defense, making some stops. Georgia Tech has demanded the ball inside. They've commanded that area. Now that Duke has to slough in a little bit, the outside shots are open.
The largest lead for Georgia Tech is short-lived. Adam Smith 3 answered with a scoop from Ingram.
And that's the advantage I spoke about, Duke's ability to beat you off the bounce.
And it's a foul underneath. Les Jones right on top of it. Vrankovic called for the hold.
His first 16 foul.
You know, to have such a talented player like Brandon Ingram, when your offense breaks down, he's got the quick first step and the length to get all the way to the basket. And you'll see more of that. Duke, unfortunately, not able to assist on the percentage of field goals they normally like, but they got to take the one-on-one opportunities when they come.
And now the substitutions come for the Blue Devils. It's Plumlee back on the floor, and essentially your first 5 with Kennard out there.
So the Ben Lammers has got the unenviable task of guarding Brandon Ingram off the dribble.
Kennard wants 3. Off back iron. He's been cold. Just 3 of his last 18 from downtown coming into this game. That drive from Georgia's Hunt misses everything. Allen to Plumlee running the floor. And now back to the perimeter. Ingram for 3. Got it.
Good extra pass. That time under control and poise was the Duke offense.
You know, with most teams, you'd see Plumlee run the floor. He's 2 steps away from the basket. You'd want the guy to take that shot. But with a team that shoots the 3 as well as Duke does, perhaps you prefer the outside one.
Yeah, I mean, that's the way the game is played nowadays. You know, you don't mind in transition pulling up and taking a 3 as long as you have runners hitting the offensive glass. And again, we take a look right here. The ball movement going inside. Good recovery by Plumlee. And the extra pass, you see how it just caught Georgia Tech totally in their rotation. We couldn't cover the quickness of the pass to the open man.
Glenn, as you mentioned a moment ago, the foul there on Ben Lammers, his second.
He's no match for Ingram on the perimeter.
And we asked Brian Gregory about that at their shoot-around this afternoon, because if the lineup is as it is right now, with essentially 4 guards and Plumlee out on the floor, and Georgia Tech wants to play 2 forwards, he said, well, we're going to have to play a Lammers or a Jacobs or a White against Ingram. And that's
or even a Mitchell.
And it's not going to work all the time.
No, it's not. And what you need to do is you need to find a way to get it out of that guy's hand. So if you're going to take the drive away from Brandon Ingram because he's covered by a guy with whom he has a mismatch, you force him to give it up, and then you've got to rotate. That's the risk and reward.
Georgia Tech is led by as many as 7. Duke cuts it to a 2-point game. Now fight for the loose ball. It's a jump ball.
Jump ball. Possession arrow to Duke.
His his right foot in December. He's in a walking boot. He's back on the court for certain activities, but there's still no timeline, according to Duke, as to when he'll be back. He was averaging a double-double at the time of his injury.
Yeah, he was pretty good on the offensive glass, too, averaging about 5 offensive rebounds per game, which, again, gave Duke an extraordinary inside presence.
Jones, a great look from 3. Down into the hands of Smith. Without Emil Jefferson, the Blue Devils are 7-5. The team saying basically it's been a long 7 weeks without him. Just progressing to on-court work now. Jackson going up against Allen and Plumlee.
Using his left hand nicely. I mean, that's not something I would exactly teach at a clinic, but it worked for Tedrick Jackson, no question.
Inside of 3 minutes in the first half. Grayson Allen lost it out of bounds, and it stays here. Blue Devil basketball with 13 on the shot clock. Brian Gregory would like to believe otherwise.
Putting the officials at risk there when you start showing plays like that on the scoreboard.
Ingram off back iron too much, and Plumlee with a southpaw swat sends it an offensive rebound to the top of the key. Allen against double coverage too much.
Much better job of making it difficult for Grayson Allen, who still was able to turn the corner.
And now Jeff Capel's livid because that call there going against Grayson Allen, his first foul. Capel saying, well, you should have just called it down the other end of the floor.
Take a look. Here's the drive right there. Smith kind of extends his arm a little bit and creates the contact. And it's almost as though the second push, the pushback by Allen, was the one that was called. And Jeff's got a case there.
You know, 5 years go by, you don't forget how to work the refs. Coaching his first game as a head coach since March 10th of 2011.
And now he's able to. Normally you look at the assistants on the side for Duke, and it's Mike Krzyzewski who's the one that's up and discussing issues with the officials. Jeff Capel's allowed to loosen up a little bit and get his own argument out there.
No change today other than Krzyzewski and Capel, with Nate James and John Shire still the 2 assistants for Duke. 3-pointer for Jones, back to a 1-point game. Josh Heath, a transfer from South Florida, running the show here. Forwards come high.
Looking for a double high post and pin downs. Just getting ball movement and then the illegal screen.
Wanted that cross screen. Instead, it's the first foul on Quinton Stevens. ESPN and ESPN2 tomorrow night. It's the crossover. Our college analysts jump to the NBA and vice versa. Jeff Van Gundy with a throwback to his college days at Nazareth College for Notre Dame, Miami. And Jay Billis with Doug Collins for Warriors Wizards. It's also streaming live on Watch ESPN and the ESPN app. So I have a question for you, a learned man, a legal scholar,
purportedly.
Jeff Van Gundy in 2011 got an honorary doctorate of humane letters. Are there any letters that are not humane?
Picky, picky, picky. Oh, Lord.
I think Carlin had some words, but I don't know about any letters. On the run, Todrick Jackson against Luke Kennard. Count the bucket and the foul. Number 2 on the freshman from Ohio.
Well, first of all, again, probably should have gone on the same side that Ingram. And Kennard, just with a little bit of a reach, didn't think anything of it. But once you reach in on a guy going to the basket, the officials may not always have the absolute best angle to see if there was contact or not, but they're going to make that call.
Georgia Tech has made a habit of playing close games this year. 2-6 in the ACC. And all of their losses have been within 8 points. But right now, a 4-point lead with a minute to go in the half. Ingram got Stevens in the air and unable to finish. A 28-10 advantage for Georgia Tech on points in the paint.
Beautiful head fake by Ingram right there, but to no avail.
It's Georgia's Hunt with the left. And Ingram shaves. Thornton down and out, and the shot clock is off. A chance for one final possession here for the Yellow Jackets.
I'm not sure that Derek Horn was aware of the time. You know, Georgia Tech right now should not have that last possession of this half. That's too quick a shot.
3 seconds. Jackson doesn't get it to fall. And Georgia Tech leads by 4 at the break, doing a great job. And a game-high 12 points through the first 20 minutes. Georgia Tech with the basketball in their home whites, and Duke in the road blacks.
And you notice Duke right away. They've come out of that zone, and they've established a man-to-man. And right now finding some benefit from it as they got a block on an attempt at a putback.
And it turns into 3 for Grayson Allen. Now a team high and a game high 14 for Allen, who was 4 of 5 from downtown.
That time the three-pointer in transition.
Beautiful touch there by Jacobs. He's got 14.
And Nick Jacobs playing with an awful lot of confidence right now, and certainly needed. On the other side, the one thing that would help Duke immensely is to get Brandon Ingram on track. He's just 2 of 10 from the field for 9 points, with a very hard 9 points.
On the move, Smith can't hit the 3. So it's a similarly composed team, but a differently coached team today. If you're just joining us, Mike Krzyzewski feeling under the weather. Duke announced 90 minutes before the game that he did not travel with the team. Count the bucket there for Thornton. A foul on Heath. Krzyzewski expected to return soon, and so filling in today is Jeff Capel, 9 years a head coach at VCU and at Oklahoma.
And I mentioned in the first half, again, much better one-on-one. You take a look at Mike Krzyzewski's record, which obviously speaks for itself.
And you go back to the last time that the Blue Devils played a game without Krzyzewski at the helm. It's that 1995 season where he missed the second half of the year. January 7th, in fact, it was the first game that they played without him. A loss at Georgia Tech.
And again, let me re-emphasize, good decision by Jeff Capel in having Duke go back to man-to-man. You know, better able to control, at least up to now, Georgia Tech offense, keeping guys in front of them instead of playing zone and getting pushed out of position and creating gaps for Georgia Tech's guards to drive and create havoc for the Duke back line.
Smith moves it and scores over Allen.
And I'd rather have guys make challenge shots than get some of the shots that Georgia Tech got early. Still, you have to tighten up if you're Duke, no question about it.
So as we were a little surprised to walk into the locker room and see Jeff Capel today, Allen's got a 3. He said the first few days of their 8 days off, they spent working on, he said, us, which he meant to say defense and getting stops.
Yeah, working on fundamentals, going back to the basics. And then you start looking at approaching strategies that you can use against your opponent, upcoming opponent.
Smith, he mirrors his last trip down the floor.
Right now, Georgia Tech's got a problem. You got a hot Grayson Allen. And while Josh Heath is trying to stand in front and challenge him, he can't really do it.
And he gets stuck on a screen.
And the thing I like about this attack for Duke is they haven't forgotten what has gotten them their lead. They continue to go to Grayson Allen until Georgia Tech proves that they can stop him.
He's hit his average at 20 points right now. Not 3 minutes into the second half. All right, clear him out. Play one-on-one. Smith and Allen back and forth. Quickly eliminating the first lead that Duke had held since the 10-minute mark of the first half.
Now they've taken Josh Heath off of Grayson Allen and put Marcus Georges-Hunt, a little bit better defender, stronger defender.
Back iron, it's a missed three for Ingram.
Again, Brandon Ingram having all sorts of trouble right now. Even the open looks he normally knocks down, not able to find a range. And see, this is a problem right here. If I'm Ryan Gregory, I'd pull Adam Smith over and have a talking to him. You know, we're not playing mano-a-mano right here. We got to play team basketball. You can't come down one or two passes and throw up a shot. Let's move the ball. Let's force the Duke defense out of position if we can. And then if you get a good look, let's take it.
At what point as the coach do you intervene there? He'd hit three straight going one-on-one down the floor, and then the fourth is a miss.
Well, you give him the leeway. I mean, look, let's face it. He's a graduate student. He's been around. He knows how to play. But any more of that stuff that takes you out of your offensive rhythm, you got to say no. And I think that's the one. Good offensive rebound, though. Kind of a reprieve, and Smith knows it.
Smith, a graduate student, started his career at UNC Wilmington, played a couple of years at Virginia Tech, and now wrapping it up here at Georgia Tech, a native of Georgia.
Good defense by Plumlee that time. Didn't give ground.
To the corner, it's a lock and load. Offside iron, White clears it for the Yellow Jackets, and it's Jorgensen with the pedal to the floor. Wow. Two. An ugly shot for White. So we, as well as the rest of the college basketball community, certainly wish the best for Coach K and hope to see him back on the sidelines as soon as possible. Off the inbounds, it's Smith, and it's quickly cleared away by Brandon Ingram.
Georgia Tech offense in sore need of a field goal, 0 for their last 5. And Duke red hot from beyond the arc. Now 9 of 19. Well, that's more than half of their offensive game. Their field goal attempts have been from beyond the arc. I don't know if that's a good formula. I guess it is if you're making a lot of them, which they are. But if you live by it, you'll ultimately perish by the three if you're not careful.
Smith for Jorgensen at 3. Into the hands of Allen. He runs the floor without numbers, but the advantage in space, and tumbles through Georges-Hunt to give the Blue Devils a 1-point lead.
And it was really the quick shot, I guess with the shot clock running down, not a good shot that leads to that advantage break for Duke. And I'm always wondering why you don't try inside with guys and be able to create enough chaos to allow your offensive rebounders to get going.
A good effort from Lammers. Ingram turns away Smith, and Allen to kick ball into the right Nike of Lammers. Charles Mitchell there, we saw him get a look driving down the lane. He only got 2 points tonight.
Yeah, he really, coming off the bench, hasn't been involved in the offense except when he's really gone after it on the offensive glass. 7 minutes right now, a little more than 7 minutes. He's got 5 rebounds, but only 1 of 2, 1 of 3 from the field. Which tells you, again, Georgia Tech's offense, after getting off to a hot start, really kind of slowed down, bogged down. A lot of it attributable to Duke going to man-to-man.
In the second half, Grayson Allen has 11 for Duke. There's the aggression from Brandon Ingram. 3rd foul on Ben Lammers.
And Ingram shooting 2 of 11 from the field. That's a good way to start getting yourself back on track. Go for the high percentage shot. Don't just settle for threes.
64% free throw shooter. We saw earlier about the departures for Duke with Okafor and Winslow, Tyus Jones. Now you look at Duke being out of the top 25. 6 of the top 10 players in the ESPN 100 in the class of 2015 are playing on unranked teams. At this point last year, all the top 10 players were on ranked teams. That's why we see, I suppose, the rise of the elder player in college basketball this year.
Yeah, I mean, and it's cyclical. There's no question about it. I mean, Duke, obviously, national championship last year with those guys. But that's what happens many times when you rely on the youth. You kind of mortgage your future for a while until you regain the opportunity.
Jorgensen on the breakaway. And he ends a 0 for 10 slide from the field for Georgia Tech.
On Duke's 5th turnover.
Ingram against Lammers. That's the mismatch the Blue Devils are wise to exploit.
But here's the thing. You've got that mismatch. You know that Ingram is going to put it on the floor and try to drive around Lammers. Where's the help? Wide open lane to the basket. No help coming from that weak side.
So, Len, if you're a Georgia Tech defender, who are you helping off of? You've got Grayson Allen. You've got Luke Kennard. You've got Derek Thornton. Where do you help off of? They're all good shooters.
But the thing is, the more you force a team to pass the ball, the more opportunity for them to make a mistake. Ingram, 3 feet from the basket, is not going to make very many mistakes. So, if you know, it's a question of probability. I'm going to take my chances, force Ingram to kick it, and then try to close on a shooter. You're taking an 80% shot or probability of a foul and one, and you turn it into a 35-40% shot, you know, even with the outstanding three-point shooters that Duke have.
With Chase Jeter back in the game, it's 4 freshmen on the floor for Duke against Georgia Tech, the 9th oldest team in college basketball. Average experience about 2.5 years up and down the roster. Out of bounds off Thornton. I say it's a kick ball. So Georgia Tech maintains possession down a pair. Kennard, Jeter, Ingram, Thornton, Jones for the Blue Devils.
Just going to say, you can't play with 6. Somebody's got to figure it out. And Georgia's Hunt comes off.
And Smith into the game with Jorgensen, Stevens, Jackson, and Jacobs on the floor for Georgia Tech. Now in shot of 10 on the shot clock. Jackson going inside, and he turns it over. Thornton takes the heave from Kennard, catches his balance and scores. Duke by 4.
Another puzzling turn of events. Tadrick Jackson drives baseline, has an opportunity to get it up, instead decides to kick it, as is the custom in college basketball.
See in scoring only behind Cat Barber. We should not let his efforts go unrecognized, despite the less than stellar conference record of North Carolina State at this point.
And without Grayson Allen, Duke would be 11 of 28. They are 11 of 28 from the field and just 3 of 11 from beyond the arc. Instead, we're shooting a pretty hefty 18 of 39 and 9 of 19 from beyond the arc.
Second chance opportunity for Green tonight is now back onto the floor for Duke. The free throw good for Jacobs, now up to 17. Blue Devils have lost 4 of 5. They're 4-4 in the ACC. Georgia Tech 2-6 in conference play. And all of their losses have been within 8 points in a close one tonight. It has never been more than a 7-point game. Bucket and the foul for the Blue Devils.
Well, it's the second chance opportunities that Georgia Tech commanded in the first half, and now Duke taking advantage, and that created the chance for Thornton on this drive. A little bit of a mismatch as Jorgensen had to stay low, and Thornton recognized he had a slower, bigger guy on him and went straight to the basket, no hesitation.
He gets 2 out of 3 after the foul charge to Jacobs, number 2 on the high-scoring big man. Jacobs just short against Plumlee.
And see, those are the shots that were coming up short early in the season for Nick Jacobs, as he kind of short arms it. When he follows through and he goes strong with no hesitation, he's far more effective, which is what he's done for most of this game.
Allen with a drop off. Lovely tomahawks with 2.
Good two-man basketball to drop off after the help stepped up.
Jorgensen off for Jackson. Missed opportunity. Jacobs over his last 2. And the loose ball foul. Charged to Quentin Stevens, his second.
Again, you take a look at the drive off the screen. Jacobs steps out and tries to help, obviously because Allen has been so effective. And the rotation, nobody rotates over. You see Tadrick Jackson just watching instead of rotating over. You know, that's the problem with the defense. If you're going to step out and help, everybody's got to be in motion to cover.
Largest lead for Duke, and it only gets bigger. Foot on the line. It's a 2-point field goal for Allen. .24 now for Grayson Allen, second leading scorer in the ACC. Mitchell had a good look and threw it away. Out of bounds, stays here.
Georgia Tech getting awfully tentative right now, down 7. Playing right into Duke's hands. Instead of being strong and assertive, they've been kind of tentative right there. You know, and that's the difference. On one end, you saw Georgia Tech fail to rotate. Marshall Plumlee gets the dunk. On that end, Duke rotates down low and thwarts that attempt at interior passing.
Tadrick Jackson with the shot put. And you go back to that opportunity Mitchell had there. Ingram came over. He's the secondary defender inside the arc. Mitchell goes, it's a block.
Yeah, and no question about it, but guys aren't thinking that. And I understand what Charles Mitchell was trying to do, and so did Duke, because they rotated over nicely. Georgia Tech has got to get active defensively as well.
Gordon wants the paint, and he swoops it off the window.
Splits the defenders, and that's the difference. Assertiveness by Duke and tentativeness by Georgia Tech.
A freshman versus a senior. Mitchell comes up empty. Gordon again. For Allen, a 3. Yes! Duke by 10. Timeout, Georgia Tech.
Again, points allowed. Field goal percentage defense. You know, their opponents in those games have had their way. And right now, Duke's doing a better job. As you mentioned, during that 8-day practice opportunity, they were able to work on their defense. And you can see the difference here in the second half. They went away from the zone. They went to man-to-man, which I think is more of a natural fit for this Duke team and really for the Duke system. Up until the last year or so, Mike Krzyzewski has rarely played zone. But these guys have responded in getting to play man-to-man. They've rotated better. They've covered shooters better. And they've taken really the confidence away from Georgia Tech.
Gordon the drop-off. Jones had it knocked away. And at the other end, you talk about the three-point shot against the man-to-man. Smith for Georgia Tech, one of the best in the country, is just 1 of 5 from 3. He has not found his stroke. Meanwhile, Grayson Allen, who gets the inbound, a career-high 7 made threes tonight. Ingram works it just inside the arc, fighting for his own miss. Out of bounds off of Georgia Tech's James White.
And that's very key and often overlooked. James White, after Ingram takes a shot, you can't turn and watch the flight of the ball. You got to put a body on your man. Instead, he allowed Ingram to get a running start and contest and giving Duke a second chance opportunity.
So Thornton gets the play call from acting head coach Jeff Capel. Plumlee going to work on Lammers. Oh, nicely done.
And you can see that that was something that certainly was discussed. Ben Lammer's not the strongest body down low, more accustomed to playing on the perimeter where he had gotten hurt several times by Brandon Ingram. He goes inside, Plumlee with his strength takes him to the basket. So he might be the weak point in this Georgia Tech defense.
Smith steps away.
I got a piece of that.
Inside of 8 minutes now here at McCamish Pavilion. A 13-2 Duke run gives the Blue Devils a 12-point advantage on the road. They try and go one game above the 500 mark to 5-4 in league play.
Again, attacking Lammers.
George's Hunt. No.
And take a look out who's on the floor, particularly in the front line for Georgia Tech. James White, who's more of a perimeter player. Ben Lammer's not necessarily comfortable down on the block. Georgia Tech is forced to play perimeter offense, and that's not playing well at this point in time.
Or Smart with 2 of 15 from 3 tonight.
That's just hustle right there. Georgia Tech getting out hustled, 50-50 ball. Allen able to get his hands on it and punch it back outside for another opportunity.
And that's being outworked by a team that essentially has 6, sometimes 7 players. Thornton wants 3. Got it! 70-55. The Blue Devils in the first 14 minutes of this half have gone from down 4 to up 15.
The offense now just stagnant. Georgia Hunt has to force it on 3 Duke defenders. And as good as the Duke's defense has been, as dominant as they've been offensively and executing, I think Georgia Tech really is just giving up the ghost, so to speak. They're not even hustling for balls, not blocking out. They've totally lost whatever it is they had in the first half. Georgia Tech, one, to get their confidence back and belief in themselves, and secondly, to be able to execute in a manner that's going to get them back in this game.
Marcus George's Hunt gets it to go. And you would have said the story after 20 minutes in this game was Georgia Tech shooting 58% from the floor. And now in the second half, it's Duke shooting 58%. 14 out of 24 and 5 of 10 from 3.
Well, as I said, it's a good execution. It got some easy buckets, but really attribute the change in all of this to Duke going to man and getting rid of the zone in the beginning of the second half. And that kind of set the tempo.
What do you think they saw that made them switch?
I think they saw that the zone wasn't effective. I mean, it's as simple as that. And that they're much better suited to play man, and they matched up really well.
Jeff Capel happy he's got his athletic director here behind the bench say, hey, look, it's good coaching. Well, tomorrow, National Signing Day, we'll have you covered from coast to coast on ESPNU and ESPN2. Biggest day of the year for some high school football players. Rashawn Gary, #1 recruit in the nation, will announce his decision live. It'll be the 4th straight year that the nation's top player has announced on the ESPNU Signing Day special. So it's a big day all around. You want to know why it's important? Every national champ since 2006 has had a top 10 class the year before their title. Foul is on Plumlee, his second. Gary, it appears to be the front runner is Michigan at this point. His former high school coach is the linebackers coach at Michigan. And Jim Harbaugh has really, you could say, made prominent his recruiting efforts as of late. How successful they will be is another story tomorrow.
Well, only in American sports can an 18-year-old hold adults in such suspense. Amazing.
And you know, now they've gotten away from the fax machine. There's apps where you can digitally sign your letter of intent. So now the recruits who don't yet pay for their groceries will know what it feels like to have just 3 specks of your name show up when you sign for your credit card receipt at the grocery store, but for your letter of intent. Horton going to work on Smith. Inside of 4.5 minutes, Ingram with the take, strong to the basket, and gets the roll.
Stevens just gave up too much real estate there. You got to go out, you got to hold your ground. You got to keep him from turning, and you got to take that space and force him to run you over. There he just backed up to the point where Ingram's length just allowed him to lay it up.
So Duke trying to make it 2 wins in their last 3 games. A loss against Miami 8 days ago. Followed a win at NC State. 2 on the shot clock. Jackson lets it fly and clanks front iron.
And in the first half, you saw 2 to 3 white shirts around that ball on the offensive glass. That time, no one even close. Again, those are some of the effort measurements. And not to say that Georgia Tech's not trying. I just think they got their confidence, their bravado, whatever it is, just taken away from them.
Nobody stops Adam Smith on his way to the basket.
But, Lana, I think the point you're making about the defense is the old coaching adage, you don't have to be a good player to exert effort on the defensive end of the floor.
Yeah, but this right now is psychological. As I said, Georgia Tech, it's not that they're not trying, but they just got blitzed. And mentally, you know, you go out of sorts that way. You've got to jog yourself out of it.
And it's a Duke offensive foul.
And we went through, back in those days, no charter planes, you know, only 24, 26 teams, that type of thing. It's nowhere near the comparison of the physical grind and physical punishment that you take in football. And after 9 or 10 years of that, I could see it.
And knowing the way that the game is different, but also the way that the compensation is different.
Well, that's a whole different thing. Well, here's the difference, though, is he got out of school in 2006. Here we are in 2016. You're one of the best in the league for the time you're there. You can walk away with enough money to never work a day in your life.
That's true. I mean, I think he signed a contract, what, $130+ million at one point in time.
And so there's a certain level of respect to be had there for somebody who says, you know what, I've had enough.
Smith with the right hand, and Plumlee a little bit too late to try and get there. 74-63 with 2 minutes and 15 seconds left. Now both teams last registered a win against North Carolina State. Duke came in having dropped 4 or 5 out of the AP top 25 for the first time since March of 2007. 167 straight weeks. And a loss to Miami was their only game within the last 8 days, so they didn't have a chance to try and buoy themselves to the voters, even low in the receiving votes category in the latest poll.
Speaking of a chance, only down 11, you got to attack quickly, but Georgia Tech trying to get back into this ball game. You see a newfound sense of urgency, a greater degree of confidence as they seem to have recovered from the shell shock. But is it a case of too little too late? As Tadrick Jackson, who's been pretty effective driving to the basket all evening, takes it strong to the hole right here.
And there's certainly the case to be made that maybe where they should have gone with it sooner. Out of bounds, Stevens was fighting for it, and it stays with
Georgia. Mentioned indisputable evidence to change it. And that was just too close to call.
So Georgia's Hunt size mismatch against Plumlee. He tries to get rid of it to the edge, and it's swiped away by Jones. Backcourt violation. Thornton, the freshman, turns it over.
3-possession ball game right now with 124. And whatever it is that Duke was flying on in that second half, they've got to recover it just for a minute and 24 and not let Georgia Tech back into this ball game.
6 unanswered points by the Yellow Jackets. It's too much off the window. Jacobs on a second try, unable to score. Third chance, Smith leaves it short. And Ingram corrals it for Duke. Missed opportunities all around for Georgia Tech.
High anxiety. That's what you saw for Georgia Tech right there. Rushing shots that normally should have been made.
That's only team foul number 6. That called against Quinton Stevens. So the next will be the bonus for both sides. Full court man-to-man pressure.
Boy, had they made that shot, it would have been something right here that brought this crowd back into it. And start putting the pressure on the Duke side.
Tipped away. A chance at redemption. George's Hunt lashes. A whistle against Grayson Allen.
And here's where the new rules come into effect. Almost immediately prior to that offensive foul, Jeff Cable was trying to call timeout. But remember, coaches cannot call timeout from the sideline.
They can in a dead ball period, which is
the ball was in play.
When the ball has gone through the net to when it's being picked up for the inbound. So it's a very short period of time.
And now he's not going to call it. Although he's got the capability of getting somebody to call it right now, but he was screaming to call a timeout before Georgia Tech attempted to inbound that ball. Once that was given to the player, all bets are off.
Jackson trying to get it in for Jacobs from 15 feet. He pounds his way inside. Ingram turns it away, and now Jones for Kennard.
And that should do it. Are you kidding me?
And Grayson Allen has fouled out of the game.
What is Grayson Allen thinking? I think the game is still firmly in Duke's hands, but you got to be smarter than that. And I guarantee you, I'm echoing what Jeff Cable's saying. He called a hold. He's got his arm underneath. I don't know. You don't even need to be that close.
So it's home against NC State and then Louisville, which just knocked off North Carolina on Big Monday yesterday. Virginia, UNC, Louisville. So home and home with Louisville there. Boy, this schedule gets real rough for Duke, which would be 5-4 with a win here tonight in league play.
3 top 25 teams they have to play among 5 games, and 3 of them on the road.
George's Hunt good on the front end. And salvation for a less than stellar second half is still in reach here for the Yellow Jackets. George's Hunt right now 7 points under his team leading average on the year of 16. (76-69). Ball tapped away.
Are you kidding? Another.
Jackson has it in the corner. And his shot well off the mark. Kennard grabs the air ball. Was that too soon?
I think so, but unfortunately he was trapped and really had nothing to do. Outstanding effort right there. The effort is back for Georgia Tech. Good steal. Outstanding, excellent effort right there, but the trap almost forced that shot, and the weak side rebounder. Nick Jacobs didn't really fight for position, allowed Kennard, leading free throw shooter in the nation, to get good position, and ultimately was fouled. That's an automatic 2 points right there.
Kennard now 63 of 68 at the free throw line on the year, 92%. Smith with the left answers, 2 points.
And at the end of this game, if I'm Derek Thornton, I'm going to give my big man a talking to. You don't leave him naked out there to run into a screen, a brick wall screen, like Nick Jacobs, Thornton could have been seriously hurt right there. Clean, legitimate screen, but you got to communicate. And he's rubbing his shoulder right now.
Allen fouled out. He finishes the game with 27 points and a career-high 7 made threes, 7 of 10 from three-point range tonight.
And the point I'm making is a learning experience for the future. Because right now, as I said, if Kennard shooting the free throws the way he does, 24 seconds left, and you're about to go into a 3-possession ball game, you know, for the future, you protect your guards.
Smith, cross midcourt to the corner, three-pointer, in and out, Jackson. No foul coming on Brandon Ingram. Duke down by 4 at halftime, out of the rankings, and without Coach K at the helm, is a winner tonight in Atlanta, 80-71.